morning and welcome to this meeting of Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. The council meets here at City Hall on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. Please note the council meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, are also available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now I'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge of the flag, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As a courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phone or any other electronic devices you may have that might interrupt the meeting. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda are here in the front of the room. For anybody who would like to have one, copies of the entire information packet the council will be using are available online on the city's website. We have two public hearings tonight. Before we get started, I want to hope everybody had a nice Memorial Day. It was a nice weekend. We had a nice day for the parade. Rain held off, and I want to thank all my colleagues who joined us, Mr. Dayhoff, who helped manage the situation there for us and has taken care of the lineup. And it's always great to be with the Westminster Municipal Band. So such great ambassadors for the city, not just locally, but around the state and around the region. So it's always great to be with them. Thank you. We have two public hearings tonight. Public hearings in the city of Westminster are led by the mayor, and so I will turn the gavel over to Mayor Becker.
Right, thank you, sir. So we'll start with the first public hearing. I'll call the public hearing. Time of 7:00. The mayor and common council of the city of Westminster are conducting this public hearing on the proposed FY25 budget at the mayor and common council scheduled meeting on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024, to receive public comment on the city of Westminster FY25 budget. The city of Westminster's proposed annual budget FY 2025 is scheduled for adoption on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. If there's anyone who'd like to make a comment on the budget, if you could please state your name and address for the record. Hearing no comment, we'll close that hearing at 7:04 p.m. Right, the next hearing is for annexation resolution number 24-03, annexation number 77, Covington Properties, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property containing plus or minus 3.186 acres contiguous to and adjoining the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of real property located at 535 Old Westminster Pike, Westminster, Maryland 21157. Also identified as tax account number 07-024304, map 0046, grid 0015, parcel 0017, and comprising plus or minus 2.5389 acres and plus or minus 0.6471 acres of right-of-way containing a portion of Old Westminster Pike belonging to the commissioners of Carroll County. If there's anyone who would like to speak on this public hearing, please state your name and address for the record. Close the public hearing. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you, Mayor Becker. We have two items on the consent calendar this evening. Minutes. So we were doing minutes anyway. We have minutes for last meeting?
We don't actually, they'll be on the
That's why it's
next.
not here. That's why it's not here.
The city clerk was at a conference.
Oh,
last
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Learned a lot and made us proud.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's a particular task, I'd rather just wait for you to return it for.
Yes.
All right, so we have 2 items on the consent calendar. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
There's been a motion by Mr. Dayhoff. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Hoff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it. And the consent calendar is adopted. Report from the mayor, Dr. Beck.
All right, thank you, Council President. 2 weeks ago, the downtown Westminster Farmers Market opened on a rainy Saturday. This past Saturday, although I couldn't be here, I know the weather was beautiful. As a huge supporter of the farmers market, I'd just like to say thank you for the attendees who come and shop on a Saturday morning for locally produced items. And thank you to the vendors for selecting our farmers market at which to sell their items. I also wanted to thank Melissa Thorne of the Community Planning and Development Department for her organizing and managerial skills in facilitating this year's market. You may know that Brooke Haggerty was our market manager up until last year. So, next, schools in Carroll County are just about to let out, only 9.5 days. When school is out, just a reminder that there'll be more children in our neighborhoods on bikes and scooters, running and playing in the parks. And I would just ask that all the motorists in the city please be aware of their surroundings. Even though I wasn't in town this weekend, I received numerous messages from residents and non-residents related to the opening of the pool. All were positive regarding the new splash pad and the lap learning pool. The Historical Society, so 2 events coming up that I'm excited about. The Historical Society of Carroll County will be celebrating their 85th anniversary this year. On Thursday, June 6th, they are hosting their annual variety show at the Carroll County Arts Center, starting at 5 p.m. till 7. As part of the show, there will be a small snippet of a play performed about Mary Shellman. I will be playing the role of Mary Shellman. The event is free, so please come out and support the Historical Society at the Arts Center. And speaking of Arts Center, this weekend is also Art in the Park, which is held at the park on the hill right behind City Hall here on Saturday from 10 to 4. And then finally, I was sorry to have missed this weekend's Memorial Day Parade and service. We were out of town visiting family, but I would like to thank the council for representing the city and Councilmember Dayhoff for placing the wreath, the city's wreath at the service in the Westminster Cemetery. And Councilmember Cavacci, if you could extend your my thanks, to Mrs. Cavacci for sending me some wonderful pictures of the parade. Right, thank you. That's all, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you very much, Mayor Becker. Move on now to reports from committees. We'll begin, as we do usually, with our liaison to the Carroll County Arts Council, Mr. Dale.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're still working on the budget. We've got a lot of exciting programming. The mayor mentioned art in the park. So we're looking forward to a great summer of great programming. That'll be my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Hawk.
Nothing particular to report this evening.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hawk. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I'll just note that we're going to be adopting the budget later, and I'll have this evening, and I'll have more to say on it when we take the budget ordinance. Nothing from the Personnel Committee. Public Safety, Mr. Cavacci.
Thank you, Mr. President. On May 14th, members of the Westminster Police Department participated in the State's Attorney's Office 8th Annual Drug and Overdose Prevention Vigil at the Portico at St. John's. At this event, Lieutenant Tim Reif was recognized for his hard work and dedication in the area by receiving the 2024 Message of Hope Award. So congratulations to Sergeant Reif. This award is presented by the state's attorney and an individual in recognition of steadfast dedication and service to the residents of Carroll County. On May 17th, Captain Jeff Schuster, who we all know to be the best detective in Carroll County, graduated from, that's not actually in my notes, but the lad lib. Captain Jeff Schuster graduated from Northwestern School of Police Staffing Command. The Northwestern School of Police Staffing Command is an intensive leadership and management education program that helps prepare experienced law enforcement professionals for success in senior command positions. On May 21st, Chief Ledwell participated at the Homeless Service Summit held at Carroll Community College as a panel member to discuss how Westminster Police engage with homeless individuals. The Carroll County Circle of Caring Homelessness Board and Carroll County Local Management Board, in partnership with Carroll Community College, facilitated the conference. And then finally, on May 24th, police recruit Melissa Paredes graduated from the Police Academy. Police Officer Paredes will start her field training in the Patrol Bureau next week, and I was honored to be able to swear her onto the police department at the end of last week. That is the conclusion of my report, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Next, Public Works, Ms. Gilbert.
Public Works, along with their normal work that they complete during the summer, which is lots of mowing and maintenance. They've been addressed issues in preparation for the community pool dedication and opening, converted tennis courts and pickleball courts at JC Park. There are now 6 pickleball courts to add to the pickleball courts that we have at JC Park. And they prepared for the Memorial Day Parade hosted by the Carroll County Post number 31 American Legion. And that's all I got for Public Works.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Gilbert. And can you also give us a report on recreational parks?
I sure can, Mr. President. So the newly renovated Westminster Municipal Pool Complex opened to the public on Saturday, May 25th. Eager guests were delighted to experience the brand new learning pool, the splash pad, and the lagoon. Pool memberships are still available for purchase by calling the 410-751-5501. The beer and barbecue stroll is just around the corner. Join us on Main Street on Saturday, June 15th for great live entertainment, quality artisans and craft vendors, delicious barbecue, and of course, cold beer from craft breweries across the state of Maryland. VIP tables are still available for purchase. For information, visit westminstermaryland.gov or call the Recreation and Parks Department at the 751-5501 number. And lastly, summer camp kicks off on Monday, June 17th and spans 11 weeks. All the weeks are in high demand and are currently on a wait list, except for week 3, July 1st through 5th. There's no camp on the 4th. So if you are interested or want to try out summer camp that is sponsored by the Parks and Rec, try that 1 week that we still have slots left. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Mr. Dayoff, anything new on the technology committee?
No, sir. No report, sir.
Very good, thank you. All right. Now it's time for council comments and discussion. This is the opportunity for council members to share any thoughts they might have on any other items that are not elsewhere on the agenda. Give it with Mr. Kavachi.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to express my gratitude to my colleagues here sitting in the dais to say thank you for comporting yourselves in the fashion that you do while serving the city of Westminster. When I look at other organizations around us, other government entities and at the state and local level, I realize how fortunate I am to be sitting here with folks like you who we don't agree all the time. We may not even get along necessarily wonderfully all the time, but we work those things out. And I think that when it comes to doing the work of the public, we comport ourselves in a fashion, frankly, I wish folks around us would pay attention to. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kavachi, for the kind word. I think we all do get along very well. Nice. Mr. Dayoff.
Mr. President, we always get along. I want to thank the mayor for the weather for Memorial Day. As folks are maybe not thoroughly aware, Mayor Becker is in charge of the weather in the city of Westminster. We disagree with her about snow, but otherwise, you were missed at the event. You've always been a great supporter of veterans and Memorial Day. Councilwoman Ann Gilbert kept me in line and she helped me with the wreath. And Westminster Police Officer Brandon O'Neill, who served 2 years in Afghanistan, represented the city extremely well with the placing of the wreath. I need to mention some upcoming events. The Maryland, Delaware, DC Synod will have a convention. We'll have a Synod meeting at 21 Carroll Street on June the 6th and June the 7th. There will be a great deal of traffic congestion, and there will be a lot of folks in town who don't often visit Westminster. We had the Synod meeting here last year. It went off really well. And I got great reports from the restaurant owners that many folks stayed and visited our shops and went to the various restaurants. Another really interesting event that's coming up, I talked with Father Mark today of St. John Catholic Church, and we are going to be a part of a national Eucharistic pilgrimage. One of the legs of the pilgrimage, the Mother Seton leg, will go directly through the city of Westminster. And that will be on June the 5th. I hope I have these dates correct. I think that's on June the 5th. Mr. Clerk, I think the Synod meeting is on the 7th and the 8th. I'll get back with you and double check that. But the interesting thing about the Eucharistic pilgrimage is that there will be a great deal of traffic congestion with that also, because there will be a procession that goes through the city of Westminster for that. Mr. President, did I get that correctly?
Sounds like it.
Okay, thank you. That'll be my report, sir.
Big couple of weeks for the faithful and for bad traffic.
Yeah, yeah.
The two are not connected.
Well, I heard, I had one woman complain about the Memorial Day parade. It could be in Stern, and she demanded that I do something about it. And I gave her the mayor's phone number. No, I didn't.
Always a good change.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Ms. Gilbert, anything you'd like to?
No, I have nothing else to add. Everybody has touched on all of my topics.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
The other thing I'll mention for the benefit of the group is, session just recently ended in April, and as you remember, we got $1 million towards our fiber project. But just for the people that are not on the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, we are already starting the process plotting for the next session, because a lot of hard work, our preparation goes into our requests and how we approach things well before we even get to session. And we are already starting to meet and discuss about that. So I just wanted to share that with the whole group for the benefit of the members that are not on that committee. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps planning is a better word than plotting.
Yes.
Sounds like
Thank you, Council President. Yes. Planning. Thank you.
Sorry.
Good night.
That concludes our comments and discussion. I don't have anything to add to all of that. Move on now to ordinances and resolutions. The first item we have before this evening is adoption of ordinance number 2024-04, ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster, Maryland, approving and adopting the fiscal year 25 budget for the city of Westminster for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2025. That is fiscal year 25, and establishing the various city tax rates for fiscal year 25. Ms. Ingalls, would you like to make a few comments on this before we get a motion and do the other things we have to do?
I would, thank you. I want to start off by thanking a few people who, I've mentioned this before, the budget we start this in January. It's a very long process. It involves a lot of staff members, and I'm thankful that it involves a lot of staff members because we have an opportunity to really make sure that what we're doing makes sense, that it's fiscally responsible, that we've done our due diligence to get estimates and quotes that are as realistic as possible so that we're not putting in a big number we don't need or the wrong number, so we're having to come back to you later to make corrections. So I just want to take a moment to thank a few people. I want to offer my sincere thanks to those who played a role in that development. And that includes first and foremost our Director of Finance, Ms. Rogers, who's put in an incredible amount of work to get this budget together. Our Director of Housing Services, Mr. Brown, our Director of Recreation and Parks, Ms. Gruber, our Director of Planning and Community Development, Mr. Depot, our Police Chief, Chief Legwell, as well as our Streets Department Superintendent, Mr. Strasberg, our Utilities Superintendent, Mr. Salfer, our Sewer Department Superintendent, Mr. Summerhill, our Water Department Superintendent, Mr. Rawlings. My executive assistant is Kirkner, our City Clerk, Doug Barber, as well as Krista Gardner with Smith, Elliott, Kearns and Company. These staff members not only have to sit in many, many meetings and do a lot of work behind the scenes to prepare all those estimates, but then have to take endless calls and text messages from me just to clarify, is this what we meant? Is this what we said? So what happened in January is a little different in February, which is a little different in March as the markets change and we realize things have changed a little bit. So it's a lot of communication and the team is working well to get that done. I also want to express my gratitude and thanks to Mayor Becker and the members of the Finance Committee, which of course include you, President Pecoraro, as well as Councilmember Cavacci. We've sat together in many, many meetings for many hours, including up to after 8 o'clock one night, to make sure that the budget makes sense, that you feel comfortable with it, that you understand it, and that you've given us the appropriate feedback so that we can go back and tweak some things to make it right for you. I've worked in many cities and I've seen many different versions of budgets being put together. The example I give to everyone is I worked in one city where we literally counted paper clips in the Human Resources Department. That's not an exaggeration. It's an actual thing that the council did and that they felt was necessary in order to be able to adopt the budget appropriately. And that I'm proud to work at a municipality that values the staff input and is willing to have frank conversations about what is important to the community and how we can go about to tackle that and meet all of our needs. We have a lot of needs right now, and to do that in a way that's fiscally responsible. And I believe that the budget in front of you is. So I thank you all for your support for that, and the staff for all of the hard work that they've put in. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Impulse. I just want to note that the version of the budget that we're going to adopt tonight is slightly different from the one that was presented, that was originally introduced a few weeks ago. As you all know, we had a couple of work sessions, we had discussions with the city administrator and staff, and so as a result of that, we've made some changes. So without objection, the ordinance that we take up tonight is a substitute for the ordinance that was originally introduced a few weeks ago. Hearing no objection, we'll move on to that. May I have a motion to introduce, or may I have a motion to adopt the ordinance this evening?
I'll move to adopt, Mr. President.
And a motion by Mr. Cavacci. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Gilbert. Thank you. Let me just say that, as we look at this, you all know this. Budget is really the most essential way we express policy in government. Where you put your money is where your priorities are. And I think that we've done a good job once again of setting priorities that are, that are the citizens' priorities and provide the services that our citizens have come to expect and rely on, and also the forward-thinking projects that we need for the city to be able to grow and prosper. Thank my colleagues, especially Mayor Becker and Mr. Cavacci on the Finance Committee, for the many hours that we've all put in working with the city administrator and the finance director in finalizing the budget. I want to particularly thank Ms. Impulse for the many, many hours that she and Roger's putting together working on this. I think that they've done a fine job of putting together a budget which, once again, provides no rate increase for the 12th year in a row. But it does that not by accident. It does that because the staff work together under Ms. Impulse's leadership to provide, a structurally sound budget that makes sure that we're meeting all the needs we have to meet, and looking forward so that we know that we can do that without having to require a budget, a tax increase in the years ahead. It's our expectation that we will continue to manage the city's finances at the current rate for the foreseeable future. And we do that, again, because of the sound financial management, but also through, I think, skillful use of grants and awards and money that we receive from the federal and state level, as well as some money from the county. I think that that's important. We're able to go out and get the aid that the city deserves, as a municipality in the state, and get our share, so to speak. So I think that's critical as well. So staff does a great job at managing all these things, and I think the mayor and council, working together, supporting the staff, and overseeing this work, it's a big difference as well. So thanks to everybody for this job. Mayor, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to, just a few comments. I'm particularly proud of this budget. I think that we have big plans for some things in the city of Westminster, and this budget really reflects some of the work that we've been able to do, that we're continuing to carry on, and thinking about the future. And we don't only think about next year when we put the budget together, when we talk with Ms. Imholz and Mrs. Rogers. The budget is planned out. We look ahead several years as we go through this process and think about what might be coming up five years out from this year. And I'm really proud that we are able to be so fiscally responsible to the residents of Westminster who live within the city boundaries and pay taxes and enjoy the amenities that we have to offer, and the amenities we will be able to offer in the future as well. So I'd like to express my deep thanks to Ms. Imholz for leading everybody through this arduous task, along with Mrs. Rogers, who was wearing two hats during most of this budget season, well, during all the budget season, really. So thank you, both of you, for all the work that you've put in. And then also, what I enjoyed most when we would talk during the budget sessions with the finance committee was hearing what your conversations were with all the department heads, right? And what they had come to you and what they had asked for and why they had asked for these certain items to be included in the budget. And it really gives a sense that the budget is a unified document, forward-facing document for the city of Westminster. So I just wanted to say thank you. And we'll look forward to next year's at some point in time. But for now, I think we can enjoy the fact that we have a really nice budget for this year.
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Gabati, anything you'd like to add?
Just like you said, glad that staff is able to put us in a position where we can say, hey, we're not going to raise taxes, but that they get it done without really making the sacrifices that, sometimes you think they might have to make to do that, because they do it in such a strategic, thoughtful, well-planned way. We're very fortunate to have the staff that we do. It's easy for us to sit up in your bench and say, we're going to raise taxes, but you guys are the ones that have to actually make the rubber meet the road. And I'm very grateful for that, as I know all of us up here. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gabati. Anyone else wish to be heard?
I'll just add, what I appreciate, because staff does do a lot of hard work. But I think they very much look to us as a council for the input of how to get there. As far as what our long-term vision is for the city and how the budget moves us forward towards our long-term vision for the city. So, I appreciate a lot of the planning, that goes in to that, and getting a sense of direction for what we envision, and then actually implementing that, to meet that vision. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Right? No further comments? Move on to a vote. All those in favor of adoption of ordinance number 2024-04 as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. And Mr. Weber, I'd like to be recorded as a yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
So with that, the ordinance is adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Whew.
There we go.
More work.
Long time getting ahead.
The next item is adoption of annexation resolution number 24-08, the annexation plan for annexation number 77, Covington Properties, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain properties containing plus or minus 3.186 acres contiguous to and adjoining the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of real property located at 535 Old Westminster Pike, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, also identified as tax count number 07-024304, map 0046, grid 0015, parcel 0017, and comprising plus or minus 2.5389 acres and plus or minus 0.6471 acres of right-of-way containing a portion of Old Westminster Pike belonging to the Commissioners of Carroll County. Turn to Mr. Depot now for an explanation of this. I think we do that. Just want to mention we're pleased to have both be the County Director of Public Works this time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you. You may recall this is 535 Old Westminster Pike. There was an annexation agreement that was done for this property to allow businesses to move in and gain water as we move towards the annexation petition. With that, on February the 26th, 2024, the annexation resolution 2403 for annexation 77 was introduced, including the annexation plan for annexation 77 by the Mayor and Common Council. Pursuant to annotated code of Maryland on February the 27th, 2024, the annexation resolution 2403 along with the annexation plan were emailed to Carroll County and subsequently forwarded to the Maryland Department of Planning. On March 22nd, 2024, the Maryland Department of Planning forwarded its review comments to the city. On April 16th, 2024, the Board of County Commissioners discussed annexation 77 and subsequently provided a comment letter documenting their review process and comments. On May 16th, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission of the city held a public hearing on annexation 77. The Planning and Zoning Commission forwarded annexation 77, including the resolution 2403 and annexation plan to the City of Westminster Mayor and Common Council with a favorable recommendation, a 4-0 vote. Pursuant to the annotated code of Maryland and Open Meetings Act on April 25th, 2024 and May 2nd, 2024, a notice of public hearing was held by the Mayor and Common Council to hold a hearing on May 28th, 2024 for annexation resolution 77. No changes have been made to the annexation resolution or the annexation plan is introduced, and staff has not received any public input regarding the annexation. The annexation plan resolution 2408 was drafted and is consistent with the annexation plan again as introduced. With that, the Department of Community Planning and Development recommends that the Mayor and Common Council first adopt annexation plan resolution 2408, approving the annexation plan for annexation 77. And that completes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Depot. And we'll note, as Mr. Depot alluded to, we have two items connected to this on the agenda. See if you will take up the other one. So let's get a motion so we can move this forward properly. Yes. Now, a motion on adoption of annexation resolution number 24-08.
Yes, I will make a motion to adopt annexation plan resolution 2408, which is approving the annexation plan.
Second.
All right, thank you. There's been a motion by Mr. Hoff and a second by Mr. Kavachi. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of adoption of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Now move on to the next item, adoption of annexation resolution number 24-03, annexation number 77, Covington Properties, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property containing plus or minus 3.186 acres contiguous to and adjoining the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of real property located at 535 Old Westminster Pike, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, also identified as tax count number 07-024304, map 0046, grid 0015, parcel 0017, and comprising plus or minus 2.5389 acres and plus or minus 0.6471 acres of right-of-way containing a portion Old Westminster Pike belonging to the Commissioners of Carroll County. Mr. Depot, anything to add?
Nothing to add. The background I provided is the same for this application, other than that the Department of Community Plan and Development recommends that the Mayor and Common Council adopt Annexation Resolution 2403 approving Annexation 77.
Very good. You heard Mr. Depot's recommendation. We have a motion to adopt Annexation Resolution number 24-03.
Mr. President, I'll
Mr.
make a
Hawes.
motion for the adoption of annexation resolution 2403, approving annexation number 77.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion by Mr. Hoff and a second by Mr. Kalachi. Any further discussion? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. And the resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. All right, we have one final item under ordinances and resolutions. Introduction of ordinance number 2024-06, fiscal year 24, budget amendment number 2. An ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster, Maryland, approving and adopting a budget amendment for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024. Just getting it in under the wire. And for that, we'll go to our Director of Finance, Ms. Rogers.
Thank you. The city's fiscal year commenced on July 1st of 2023. In accordance with sections 20-2 of the Code of the City of Westminster, the city administrator prepared a budget for the mayor to present to the Common Council for consideration. Ordinance 2023-03 approving a budget for fiscal year 24 was adopted on May 8th of 2023. During the remainder of this current year, the city will incur additional expenses that exceed the current appropriation, and therefore additional appropriations are necessary. A summary of the proposed additions is included, and the funding sources are as follows: $100,000 in ARPA funds, $303,593 in new intergovernmental funds or grants, $18,000 from general fund reserves, $2,012,392.05 from sewer fund reserves, and $18,500 from water fund reserves, for a total additional appropriation of $2,452,485.05. There is an attachment to this staff memo which details out the needs for these additional appropriations. Staff is recommending that the mayor and common council introduce the amended budget appropriations as detailed in ordinance number 2024-06. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Let's get a motion. May I have a motion for introduction of ordinance number 2024-06?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2024
Thank you. There's been a motion by Ms. Gilbert. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
There's a second by Mr. Hahn. Just note that these are all items that we've discussed along the way. Ms. Impulse has been advising us along the way when she was going to be seeking some additional funds from different sources as we were discussing some of these projects. And you've all seen the detail. Anybody have any questions or is there any discussion on this?
Additionally,
Do you want to add anything?
I do, sir. Everything that's on here that's over $25,000 has already been authorized by the council. There are a few minor items that are under $25,000 that may be new to you, that came up as a specific surprise to us that we included in this budget amendment. So otherwise, nothing should be, you should have already seen things and already authorized them. We just need to formally amend the budget to account for that.
And again, this is I think a good practice that Ms. Impulse encouraged when she joined us, that we begin doing formal budget amendments periodically to incorporate all these things in the budget rather than doing piecemeal space. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. And this is for introduction. We'll adopt before the end of this week, subsequently. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, and the ayes have it. And the ordinance is introduced. Next item is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business to remind the council of? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. No new business on the agenda. Does anybody have any new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to departmental reports. Ms. Imhoff, would you like to lead us through the departments?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Tonight, we're going to start out with the finance departments, since we're all on a big high for the budget tonight. I just want to thank Ms. Rogers one last time. The amount of time she spent in front of multiple spreadsheets with multiple screens up in front of her would be astounding to you. It's astounding to me, and I know what she's doing. It's an incredibly heavy lift that involves many, many, many spreadsheets that change many, many, many times. And Ms. Rogers is responsible for all of that. So I want to thank you for your hard work and the success. So can you lead us off to me?
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. I appreciate your kind words. I appreciate the words of the mayor and council as well. And at the risk of sounding redundant, I would like to also express my thank you. I'd like to thank the mayor, common council, the city administrator, as well as the department directors, superintendents, assistant superintendents, and other city staff members who contributed to the fiscal 25 budget that was adopted this evening. There are many months of planning, projections, analyses, decision-making, and establishing a policy that go into the budget. The process is thoughtful, thorough, and very detailed. The mayor and council have approved a budget that is balanced, fiscally efficient, and effective, and that plans for both the short and longer-term interests and needs of the city of Westminster. So Mayor and Council, I thank you, as well as the Finance Committee, for the many hours that you reviewed, discussed, considered, worked on this budget, and for the great things that you had planned for the city in this budget. And it was a pleasure working with you on it. Other than that, from the finance team, I wanted to share with you that our audit firm will be holding its preliminary audit field work. It is planned right now for the week of July 15th, and they will return later in the fall to wrap up the field work for fiscal 24. And I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions for the finance director? Hearing none, we will move on to the technology department. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. On behalf of the technology team, I want to express our sincere gratitude for the council and mayor approving this budget. This investment that you guys make allows us to continue enhancing our cybersecurity footprint and keeps our systems and hardware running at top notch for us. A lot of stuff we do in IT is behind the scenes. We can't report on it. But having the support of the city administrator, the mayor, and the council makes what we do possible. We look forward to putting the budget to good use. Beyond that, we are kicking off our cybersecurity audit that is mandated by the state of Maryland this week. So we are now to add that to our list of responsibilities for next month. But we're going to get through that before June 30th and give that report to the state. So we're good to go. And I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Moore? I gave our recreation and parks director the weekend off. She worked many, many hours this past week to get ready for the pool opening, which was a great success this weekend. So if any of you had a chance to go, thank you for doing so. If you haven't, get out to the pool next weekend because it looks really great. We will move on to the housing department now. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. Excuse me. I want to take this opportunity to thank the mayor and council for your continued support of the Department of Housing Services into the fiscal year 2025. Through your support, we are able to be proactive in code enforcement by identifying violations through our regular patrols of the city. We are also reactive and promptly respond to citizen complaints about tall grass, weeds, trash accumulation, abandoned and inoperable vehicles, and a myriad of other concerns that come to our attention. Through the rental housing license program, the staff diligently work to ensure that landlords have current rental housing license. During the past 2 weeks, we have notified landlords that they must renew their license by July 31st, 2024. As of today, we have received 122 payments for rental housing license renewals. 43% of that number was paid online. The Housing Choice Voucher Program continued to provide housing assistance to approximately 289 to 290 families each month. We want you to know that your support is critical to what we do each and every day, and we thank you for your continued support. I have nothing else.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the housing department? Hearing none, we will move on to the human resources department. Mr. Merritt.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. First, I want to thank the mayor and the city council for all of your support. And thank you for the funds that were appropriated for human resources because it goes to benefit all of the employees in the city of Westminster. And with that, we were able to now post for our safety and risk manager position. And if you know anybody that's interested in the position, just have them check out the website. But I just want to thank you for all your support and helping us get the ball moving resources. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Human Resources Department? So nice to say that out loud, right? It's been a minute since we've had a chance to say the department. All right, hearing now, we'll move on to the Planning Department, Mr. Depot.
Thank you. On May 16th, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on annexation 2403 for annexation 77. I think we know how that went. It was a favorable recommendation as it got approved tonight. On May 29th, the Planning and Zoning Commission is scheduled to hear, and that is tomorrow night. There's a special meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The introduction of local map amendment LMA 2402. This is superimposing the compatible neighborhood overlay zone over property located at 222 East Green Street, which is currently zoned R7500 residential zone, to construct two 24-unit multifamily structures for a total of 48 dwelling units. This is known as the Sunny Place condos. And also the introduction of zoning map amendment ZMA 2401, reclassifying property located in the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Maryland Route 140 and Pennsylvania Avenue from the R7500 residential zone to the planned development 9 zone to construct 20 2/2 dwellings for a total of 40 dwelling units. And this is known as the Willows. And this is just beginning the process. The introduction will be followed by a public hearing by the Planning Commission, eventually to a recommendation and the drafting of an ordinance that would then be introduced to the Mayor and Common Council. But with that, in closing, I would like to also thank the Mayor and Common Council for their work on the approval of the budget. Again, there are many aspects of the budget that are beneficial to the city, as well as the operations of the Community Planning Development Department, which is a little selfish, but it does certainly help. Some of these are funding of the Heart and Civil War Heritage Area and the city's Historic District Commission. One element would be new entrance signs we're looking at for this year to the Historic District. We do not have those today, and these will mark where the entrances of the Historic District are located. These two entities certainly help to preserve and promote the historic Westminster. The farmers market that provides a perfect opportunity to support local businesses, community planning development to improve the processing of development applications. This is certainly something that will be beneficial as we grow as a city. Economic development and the continuance of building a strong downtown and promoting Westminster as a place as a whole that a business can thrive. And as well, many of these budget elements would certainly help with grants in the future for the city. Some past ones you may be familiar with, the speakers of Main Street, the crosswalks were from past grants. We're looking at this year for grants to improve downtown businesses on helping pay for improvement costs for new businesses coming in, as well as additional improvements along the Main Street itself, and of course, facade improvement programs. And again, thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Are there any questions for the planning director? Just want to introduce Lynn Board, who has joined recently am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yes.
Recently joined Levan Ruff legal team, in case you haven't met her yet. She's joining us tonight. We will wrap up with, as we always do, with the police department. Chief Ledwell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I also would like to thank you sincerely from both myself and the department as a whole for your support and approval of this budget. As you know, there are challenging recruitment and retention times for all police officers, state of Maryland, and I think nationwide. I believe that we're in a good place because of you guys to recruit and retain quality police applicants. We're getting quality certified applicants now that during this challenging time, I think is a testament to that. I'm excited about where we're heading in the future. I think we're also able to fund some key training that will continue to build leadership from within and prepare our staff to attain the next level and ultimately my position. So I'm excited about that. I think also it helps us to keep up with our equipment and investigative tools to allow us to continue to do what I believe to be a top-notch police department. So for all of us, thank you very much.
Ms. also, yeah, let's not
I
talk
was
about
like,
you.
what?
Yeah, let's not talk about that anytime soon. You're making us nervous over here.
I'm always looking for succession planning as an
I'm
implementation.
very happy with our chief.
Appreciate
We are.
I did want to touch on an incident that I think has received some press coverage. Briefly, the state police ended up charging 5 individuals. Unfortunately, I believe the headline or thumbnail doesn't really accurately portray the facts. And I'm disappointed in a lack of communication on the state police's part. Myself, the bear commander, and the sheriff meet every Monday morning. We weren't consulted or included in this investigation, or I wasn't even notified. I found out from the press. I did call over and get the statement of facts from the state's attorney. So I'm reading through it. I think, number one, doesn't involve any strangers. The individuals are all acquainted. There's an argument over, according to this facts, drug money owed for a deal that people were looking to get paid on. But according to the facts in this statement of charges, they all walk together and get in a vehicle together. There's no indication of threat or force to get in a vehicle. Once they drive away, I think as they drive around, that's where it seems like the threat started to occur over attempting to get this money recouped for this. So I want to reassure the public that, number one, there is no, uninvolved individuals, despite what a headline or a thumbnail might read. Those are the facts. I think had we been contacted, we would have been able to assist with some key investigative tools with this investigation. So do you guys have any questions for me about?
I appreciate you clearing that up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And we still have, I know we graduated as Councilmember Kavachi talked about, another really good police recruit, in my opinion. And we have one more entry level, Barbara Bogan, who's scheduled to graduate in August. We also have some, I believe, certified police applicant that we have in background. So I'm excited about that.
Mr. Moss, I'd like to just make one quick comment on that. I've been fortunate enough to interface with a few of these either brand new officers or in the case of the one still in the academy yesterday, I got to ride along with her for a little bit related to the parade. I'm thoroughly impressed with the level of talent that you're bringing in to the department. I mean, you've been knocking it out of the park. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of everyone up here. That is ultimately, you guys know how I feel. I think it's probably the most important thing that we do in terms of public safety is number one. And you can't do it without really good people, and you're bringing in really good people. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm very impressed, Chief.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Are there any other questions for the chief? Things that you're excited about, including the new people, the events that we've had that you've been so happy to attend and give such good praise over, are all related to the work that you've done each and every year on the budget to get us to a place where we can attract the right level of staff, that we can implement the type of events that you're looking for, and to Councilmember Huff's point, that we can get through the strategic plan and the planning process in the way that you've outlined. So we don't take it for granted, the work that you've done on the budget. We sincerely appreciate your support, and that concludes the departmental reports.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Imhoff. As I said earlier, the budget is the most fundamental policy document that we do, and it's really very helpful, I think, as we conclude the budget discussion. We've heard from all the department heads and also budget impacts in the particular department. So thank you all for your thoughtful remarks on that. The final item on our agenda is citizen comments. This is when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. For citizens not attending the public meeting, we invite you to send us your comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received by email will be shared with the mayor and council. We ask commenters to please include their address and phone number with their comment. We'll now invite comments from anyone who is present here this evening. Is anyone with us tonight who wishes to be heard? If so, please give us your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Tanya Raven. I'm the property manager at Sunshine Management. My address is 178 Thomas Johnson Drive, Suite 201, Frederick, Maryland 21702. I'm coming before the council tonight to talk about the parking lease for Westminster Square condominium. Just as an introduction, Westminster is located at 20 Liberty Street in downtown Westminster. My company manages several other properties in the Westminster area, including Carroll Plaza Shopping Center and Town Square Flats. The issue we're bringing before you is we would like to request a release from the annual maintenance charge for leased parking spaces at Westminster Square Public Parking Garage. On August 23rd, 2004, the developer of Westminster Square Condominium and City Parking Garage entered in a parking lease with the mayor and common council of the city of Westminster. The intent was to secure dedicated parking spaces for the businesses and residents of Westminster Square Condominium. The term of the lease is 30 years. The lease contains a clause that releases the developer of any responsibility or liability after 50% of the condominium units are sold. This lease would automatically pass on to the Association of Unit Owners. The association was formed on March 6, 2006. Maryland condominium law allows a newly formed association of unit owners to terminate any agreement entered by the developer within 3 years after the association takes control of the property, except if the agreement is with a government entity. Under the terms of the agreement, the association is to pay a monthly rate of $1,440 for 60 parking spaces, plus an annual charge for maintenance of the parking spaces at a rate determined by the city and subject to an annual CPI increase. In addition, the lease has a clause that will require the association to pay 2.5 times the monthly rate if it requested all 60 spaces to be signed. In other words, signs would be hung that would be private parking for the condominium. On February 18, 2018, the city entered a parking lease with a local restaurant for 16 signed parking spaces at a rate lower than the posted public rate. The rate is $24 per space per month versus the $27 space per month the association pays. There is no annual maintenance charge and no additional charge for signage. The association has had to raise its condo fee to account for higher costs due to the inflation and building aging. A low condo fee has been an important factor for units, a factor in units selling quickly when they go onto the market. Residents like the location, amenities, and the downtown shopping opportunities afforded. In any agreement, there should be a quid pro quo. One party pays the other for an agreed upon price for a product or service. The association did not agree to the lease and would not because there was no quid pro quo. The association could meet its parking needs by paying for annual parking hanging tags at the posted rates and park in the spaces signed permit parking only. The annual cost would be $10,368 versus $21,080 under the lease. The association does not need 60 parking spaces. It had 16 units, and under its bylaws, each unit is allocated 2 parking spaces. The association does not have 24/7 access to the 60 parking spaces. The public parks and spaces assigned to the association with very little chance of being ticketed $20 for illegal parking. In fact, the only infrequent tickets issued are warnings. City events fill the garage. The snow events result in neighbors taking up covered parking spaces. No ticketing occurs during these times. The association often has to solicit the city to maintain the garage. For example, the lights in the garage were changed to LED lights. One stairwell got the new lights, while the lights in the stairwell used daily by the residents, employees, guests, and clients were not changed. When asked why, the response was they were not included in the contract. Maybe next year they will be budgeted to be replaced. 2 years later, they are still not changed. Our request. The Association of the Unit Owners of Westminster Square Condominiums feels the city should have one policy for parking leases at city parking facilities. The association requests all its 60 parking spaces to be signed for its exclusive use at no additional penalty, and the annual maintenance charge be dropped. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything?
I'm a resident of Westminster Square and one of the original
Say your name and address for.
Richard Keene. I reside at 20 Liberty Street, Unit 4C, Westminster Square condominium. My phone number is 443-821-3778. So I've been the original resident. I was first to move in, and I'm now the officer with the association, the secretary and treasurer for the unit. So over the years, we've had a very good relationship with the city on garage issues. Some things have been taken care of timely, other things we have to press for. And a prime example is the stairwell that we use. I think there's a misunderstanding of who that stairwell belongs to, because when I spoke to the maintenance workers about the fourth floor having a light unlit and need to be replaced, I was told, well, that's not the city's responsibility. I said, that is the garage. The stairwell and the elevator is part of the garage. It was a joint development between the city and the developers for the entire property, which was formerly Farmers Supply. So the issue in my mind is this: here's an agreement that the association did not negotiate, did not enter into. The developer did it with the city prior to our existence. It was entered into in the year 2004. We took over when 50% or more of the units were sold in 2006. We immediately objected to the agreement and found out from an attorney we contacted here in the city that we couldn't get out of it. The Maryland condo law says it's agreement with a government entity and you cannot get out of it. But we also objected and said, but we don't need 60 spaces, but we're paying higher than the rates you just posted. You put up signs for what the rates of the garage will be, and we're paying higher than that. Why is that? We met with the city and they did agree, well, that is not quite fair. So you will pay the posted rates, and that's what we pay. So we're satisfied with that. However, the agreement also includes that we have to pay an annual maintenance fee for the parking spaces. And I don't know how the city determined that, but it started out originally at around $3,200 a year. It's now up to like $3,700 a year with the CPI index applied each year. There is maintenance on the parking spaces. We agree to that. However, when we learned that there was another lease for parking spaces in the garage to a business in downtown, we asked, well, what does that look like? And we said, well, it's between the city and that other entity. We went under the Freedom of Information Act and asked to look at that agreement. And we got it from the city. Then we asked the city, can you give us the last 2 years of revenues that you've gotten from the garage? And when I looked at it, I said, well, I know what I pay for the 60 parking spaces. It's $1,440 a month, and we get this annual $3,700. Add that up, and I get an annual amount. Then the other company said, I have their agreement, and I know what they pay. Hey, it's lower than what we pay, number one. And when I put them together to the dollar, it came up to the total revenues for the garage. Then I asked the city, but you have public meters in the garage. I know that doesn't generate a lot of money because there's a lot of time the garage is free parking on weekends and after 5 until 8 in the morning and so on. But I asked for, what was that? And I said, well, we don't know. I said, well, who gets the money? And I said, does it go to the police department? Because Is there patrolling the garage and so on? I never did get an answer. But what I know is basically we are carrying that garage as far as maintenance. If you go back historically and look what you put out for maintaining the garage, I'm sure it is less than what we have paid. If this lease continues for the 30 years, we will have paid over $600,000 to the city for the parking spaces. We don't need 60 parking spaces. It's not in our bylaws that we have to have 60 parking spaces. I think the developer thought we need parking spaces for the residents, and then the businesses that are going to be on the first floor will have employees, and they will need some additional parking space. I understand that, but where the 60 number came from, I don't know. But we're paying for spaces we don't use. So we just think it is fair if you have one policy, if you're going to put out leases for parking in a public garage, that it ought to be consistent. If you want to use ours as a standard, that other business is probably going to vacate the garage very quickly because they wouldn't want to have to pay. There's a clause in there that says if we ask for all our 60 spaces to be signed, then our fee is not $1,400 a month. It's 2.5 times that. I don't know why that's in there, but it seems to be a disincentive. Don't put up signs for us. So it's just an agreement we don't like. We've lived with it for 20 years now, and we're just here to say, let's be fair and let's have one policy, and we'll abide by it. We don't have a problem agreeing to whatever the city decides, and we're certainly obligated under the current rules to pay what we have to pay. But we'd like to see it straightened out.
All right.
I have summaries of what we just spoke. If you want copies to refresh your memory about, I can give them out. I'll get them out to the clerk and he can pass them out to whoever needs them.
Mr. Barber, you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing this, your discussion with the community, all the associated information. We'll consult with our staff and we'll follow up with you as soon as we can. We appreciate your taking your time to do this evening. Anyone else who wishes to be heard this evening? No one else. That concludes the agenda and the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, June 10th. I want to note that the council will not meet on the fourth Monday of the month of June 24th, as many of us will be attending the Maryland Municipal League's. And with that, without objection, we are adjourned.